And we are live. My name's JP Berg, and it is Tuesday, June 2nd. This is Politics with Peyman and JP, and today we will be discussing Trump yelling at Netanyahu, Kusma, and the seizure of a Russian tanker. So we'll start off with topic one, and we'll jump right into it. What are your thoughts on this, Peyman? This is quite the interesting development.
It didn't land on my radar until you told me, and that's probably because I'm not really on social media anymore. I was on YouTube. It didn't come up in my feed. I mean, if it's true, then maybe Trump, he's got his groove back and there's some hope for him. But I just think it's just pure theater. They're distracting from something. I mean, I think Trump and Netanyahu, their aims are mostly aligned.
It's kind of funny that it kind of shows it like Trump's in control. I thought of that right away because the whole thing is everyone's speaking how Netanyahu is Trump's overlord. They're ruling the administration, but this illustrates succinctly the way that Trump was talking down to him and yelling at him that he doesn't. But it also illustrates that he doesn't have any control over him. I'm kind of leaning where you are. I think if it was leaked by Axios apparently, and it's everywhere, a lot of people are saying it shouldn't have been leaked. It's hard to know what's going on because there's so many people intentionally convoluting the ecosystem with misinformation. But I know one thing, these peace efforts, every time there's something on the table, Netanyahu sabotages it by continuously attacking Iran.
Well, I'll start here. It's hard to tell what to trust anymore. Do you remember January 6th? Donald Trump knocked out a Secret Service agent, choked out the other one, took control of his limousine, was trying to navigate to get to the Capitol. And it turned out to be all complete lies. And I mean, Axios is not exactly the most credible outlet.
It's funny. I totally forgot about that. That was so absurd. I memory hold it. I forgot entirely. But this is the kind of ecosystem we're living in presently. It's like you got to vet everything, and then it's like people will say, "Well, where's your evidence when you're speculating or when you're trying to interpret what's occurring?" It's like these people don't leave evidence. They will intentionally try to misinform you with these different narratives or confuse you, but there's no direct evidence. Right now, we have to use our wits. We have to look a little deeper and try to put it together. But yeah, my concern is this is going to just continue to go until we have a full-blown world war. It's going to pop off in the Middle East entirely. Like Netanyahu said yesterday in regards to this leak, he said, I spoke with Trump yesterday and I told him, and that's when he said, like, I let him know that we will not stop attacking Lebanon and striking Beirut. I mean, they're decimating it. It looks exactly like what they did to Gaza. They're just clearing it out. And it's something disgusting to behold. It really is.
So I feel like Netanyahu's power comes from his sort of perception of power. So every time he comes out and he says, I gave Donald Trump a stern warning, everyone thinks that he's in charge. But I think he's sort of the cheerleader for the neoconservative faction. So I've said this many times. You have the DOD, you have Israel, you have the neocons. They're sort of like the military wing of it. And I feel like they keep stalling Trump, who's not really that much interested in the Middle East. He's more interested in Fortress North America and the Western Hemisphere. He wants to set the Middle East ablaze. He wants to set Europe ablaze. He wants to set China ablaze and then sit back and, I don't know, print US dollars in Washington.
I wish I had that kind of a take. I wanted to be hopeful about Trump. I was a huge Trump supporter for years, but I don't think that if he's not just being controlled, he was in on it the whole time. It's too perfect, man, the way it's all playing out. Like his 180, like it wasn't like he wants to do some stuff, but he's being pulled in other directions. He was going to accomplish all of these policies that he set forward that were going to bring about a golden era. Mass deportations, focusing on America first, bringing manufacturing back, changing all these trade deals. And all he did right away was go to war for the American empire. And that's what it is. Like, you're right. There are various factions of it, but in essence, this is like Like Quigley called it the Anglo-American Empire, but it is an empire. It's a modern empire, and our nation states belong to it. So I don't know, man. It's really hard for me to be hopeful at all in regards to Trump. I think he's an actor.
Maybe I didn't explain myself well enough. Trump is like Team BlackRock, and the military guys are like, "Hey, we want to have a say too." They're like, "All right, why don't you go blow up this little Middle Eastern city?" So they're like, "All right, fine." And then they're like, "Okay, are you ready for dinner yet?" And the military's like, "No, no, I want more war." So the military is acting like a petulant child. And I'm not saying that what BlackRock is doing is going to be good. It's going to be horrifying. I just see an internal split between those two.
I would definitely say there's some fracturing and disagreements within this. It's like I watch I watch shows like the Promethean Action Group, who I really had a bit of faith in until I realized it's just they're being intentionally disingenuous. But they'll talk about the City of London. Seriously, they'll mention the City of London, the financial district, and they'll act as if it's separate from Israel. I'm not saying they're the same thing, but these are two satellites of the same power structure. And that's obvious. Anyone who's done any research and look behind the curtain a little bit can tell you that right away. It's almost ludicrous that they continuously make that assertion. They talk about the City of London like it's not controlled by the same people. So it's really hard, man, to know what's going on right now. You need to devote a lot of time to research, and then you have to still be aware that you might be getting it wrong.
So Promethean Action, where I do kind of agree with them, is their criticism of Mark Carney. If you look at Mark Carney, he's running around scrambling. He's trying to build a Canadian sovereign wealth fund. He's out there talking to foreign dignitaries. He's out in Armenia. I think he knows his time is limited. Once this Iran war winds down, and hopefully it will, the military won't keep Trump there forever. But once Trump refocuses his sights on North America, he's going to start moving, obviously, Cuba first, and then eventually Canada. That's not an endorsement of Trump. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but I think that's why Trump is just frantically looking for new trading partners.
That's why Carney's looking for new trading partners.
Carney, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, and that was the framing that was working for me, man. It really seemed like that. He was scrambling. He knew, obviously, if he wasn't going to get a good trade deal with America, and America was going to do these tariffs, that he would need other partners. And he was saying, like, he believes the international order will be reassembled. He said a lot of these things in his speeches. And he got a bunch of memorandums of understanding from different countries, which basically means nothing. That's a mouthful of Greek salad, an MOU. It's just like, yeah, maybe we'll do something. It's nothing concrete. But just watching it all, man, I get the impression, and again, this is conjecture. I have no way to vet this. And hey, man, I could be wrong. I'm not one of these guys on here that says this is the way it is, but these are my thoughts. I believe Trump and Carney are on the exact same team. And I think we will see that start to be more clear when this war picks up. Because I don't think China and Russia are on that team. I don't think the fracture between America and Europe is as real as it's saying. And some of the stuff with the Ukraine and the Ukraine and Russia conflict tells me that too. I think if America wasn't with Europe, I think Putin would have been at war with Europe already.
I think it's a delicate situation. Europe is being abandoned by America. I think America is getting ready to throw Europe under a bus to fight this proxy war with Russia, with America, assuming they can get their military arms production up, selling the weapons. So they're going to basically what they did in Ukraine, they're going to do in Europe. And Carney, I don't know, he's part of the European team. It's hard to say. Like, how would I say it? They're all playing the same game. Every single one can't Europe, America, and Russia, they're on their own team. But I guess America and Europe, they're in the same Western division, let's call it, of that team.
Yeah, I would say, and there's definitely varied interests. I'm not saying they're all on the same page. This is a very tumultuous period geopolitically. There's powers realigning. But I get the impression, and it's the same thing I say with the City of London and Israel, it's like there is a supranational system above it, and it's international finance. It's central banking and all of the infrastructure associated with it. And that's who has the most power in our society. That's why I say, like, there's nothing democratic about our nations unless we got to vote on the banks and monetary policy. Then we would be democratic and we would have participatory governance, but we don't. There's a layer above what we get to influence with our votes. And that's a big problem. It really is the biggest problem as far as I can imagine.
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about finance, like I think it's the ownership is circular. So you have BlackRock owning the banks that print money, so they own BlackRock, and then certainly the people above that, the ones that have stocks or shares and all of that, whoever they may be, they're the powerful ones that actually run everything. But then it's this sort of like internal schism, because it seems like Carney is not. I don't know how to describe it. It's like there is the sibling rivalry sort of between Carney and Trump, between the king and Trump, and they're all going towards the same direction, which is enslavement of humanity. But it's just whether you're going to do it with the Trump model or the Carney model.
Possibly. Again, I have to admit that there's no way to be sure, and that being in that constant spot where there's no stable ground to stand on, where you could say, okay, well, I definitely know this. This is for sure. Like, that doesn't exist right now. So we're in an era that's very hard to interpret everything. I do though. I got the impression early on, but I was very hopeful about Trump. And I didn't want to believe that Trump was giving the last Canadian election to Carney, even though I believe Pierre is part of it too. I don't think there's a difference there. But looking back now in retrospect and seeing what I've seen since then, I think it was just all part of the plan. They wanted Carney in. Carney, I believe, within this order. And you're right, man. It's like, who owns it? It's really hard. It is kind of circular. But at the top of it, there's a group of elitists. There is an oligarchy above all of this that's making these decisions and that's wielding power and influence. And I believe Mark Carney is a far more important member of this ruling class than Donald Trump was. I really believe that too. Carney was the one that came up with the architecture for their green agenda. Like, in his book Values, he lays it all out, how they want to change the economic model entirely, predicated on all of our resources and our credit output and all that stuff. It's pure slavery, his idea, but that's why I think they like him.
Okay, let's see if we can link that to our next topic, which is Kuzma. It seems like, as you said, Carney was big on this green thing, and his protege, Trudeau, but kind of bankrupted the country through green sustainable energy, carbon capture. And then Trump comes along like a wrecking ball. And as I mentioned, you have this internal division. He's like, nah, we're not, we're going in the same direction where we're concentrating wealth upwards, but we're not going to do it through green energy. We're going to do it through AI. And now, Kuzma's up for renegotiations. Canada's economy is in the toilet. I don't know if how much longer before Carney has no cards to play is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and then the way the model works is we can kick Carney out and put Pierre Poilievre in, and he's going to go along with it, or whomever is in charge. It's just like it's to me, it's again, I say this frequently, but it's the bread and circuses of modernity. It's to distract us and provide the illusion of participatory governance, when really there is this oligarchy or this externality above our government that seems to make all the important decisions.
I'm glad you mentioned Pierre Poilievre, because I don't want to talk about Kuzma anyway. Carrie Lynn Findley, she just won, and she's sort of like the new provincial version of Pierre Poilievre. Everybody rally behind her for 3 months, and then we'll rug pull her, and all your energy and efforts will be for naught.
And we talk about this a lot, this strategy of tension or reflexivity they use with this ideological divide, the right and the left. So Carrie Lynn Findley, the way they're presenting her, she's a MAGA. She's the bad guy, right? That's what the left hear, like when they hear MAGA. And it triggers their propensity for tribalism, and they just, it continues this whole ridiculous distractionary divide that we have. The biggest one is this left versus right thing.
Yeah. If we're taking it back to Kuzma, I mean, this all started with NAFTA. So we're on a globalist trajectory where everything is international, and you're utterly dependent on the ruling elites to, protect the supply lines. It starts with NAFTA, and there was USMCA, and now they're trying to do Kuzma. They love these acronyms, but we're losing agency. We're losing the concept of community. Nobody produces their own food. We're not in charge of our own labor, and the end result is 15-minute cities, in my opinion.
Yeah, true sovereignty cannot happen by voting in one of these puppets. When we're underneath the architecture of international finance, that's just the truth. And like you mentioned, globalization, our infrastructure, there's a lot of things we don't produce in Canada that we have to import. We're reliant upon this system, and the system is having some problems now. So I mean, what Carney says is right, but he's not doing anything. It's like, yeah, we're going to build big, we're going to invest, we're going to do all this stuff and make sure we're sustainable, and he's not doing any of that. I don't think Carney's going to last much longer. I think he will lose the next election. I think that's the way they will do it. They want to shift it back over to the Conservative Party, and I don't believe there's a difference. I think they'll present it as it's different, and they'll appeal to their tribe associated with it. But at the end of the day, it's this global power network that's telling these people what to do. And it's never been more obvious. It's really never been more obvious. Even a few years ago, to say that, you could just dismiss me. You're fucking nuts, buddy. Pardon the vulgarity. But that's, but now, I mean, I honestly believe if you can't see that there are powerful externalities that are influencing everything, I think you're being willfully ignorant or intentionally, or perhaps you're just very naive.
It'll be interesting to see what happens in the next election. First of all, with the torpedoing of the Alberta referendum and the ambushing of Daniel Smith, I honestly thought like there was an election on the horizon. You know what? When the NDP starts ramping up their anti-white, anti-MAGA rhetoric, I'm like, oh, do we have an election next week? So that's one thing. The other thing, if Trump does focus his sights on Canada, assuming he ever gets out of the Middle East, so he's going to take Cuba, he's got Greenland, he's going to lock down South America, and then he's got Venezuela now, and he's going to turn his sights on Canada. I wonder if he's going to turn around and actually support the Alberta independence movement, because I always said like the only chance that movement has is if the U.S. gets involved.
It's possible. I think we'll see a union in the future. I think just like the Club of Rome plans from long ago, we will be that district of Greenland, America, and Canada. And I think it's going almost as planned. I don't think that we're in this situation because of different things that happened. I think what we're witnessing in the West is a managed decline of our economies, managed decline and orchestrated chaos. Look at the weaponized mass migration, for instance. That accomplished a lot of objectives, but what would it definitely accomplish? What would, if you radically transform the demographics of a country in a short period of time, you're definitely going to create civil strife. And that's what we're seeing right now. Like white people in Canada and in other countries all through Europe and America, we're seeing the demographics change dramatically to where we're feeling, very much outnumbered. And at the same time, there's this intense anti-white rhetoric everywhere. White people are irredeemable, colonialization, we're terrible. We have to do all these struggle sessions and land acknowledgements and stuff. But what this is doing is it's making a lot of white people afraid, and it's making them tribe up, excuse me. And we have all kinds of these nationalist groups. Like, this goes nowhere good. There's no, like, Canada's thoroughly balkanized. Like, I have a friend that was in Vancouver, and he's like, it's 40% Asian. Like, do you think they're just all going to go, okay, it's remigration time, we're just going to leave? We've been here for, our whole lives. We immigrated legally, and we're just going to leave now. Like, no, they're going to fight. And it's going to get nasty. I think we're going to see true civil unrest, potentially even a civil conflict if this continues the way it's going. But I look at it as problem, reaction, solution. Problem, they bring in the weaponized mass migration. Reaction, white people get identitarianism. They form white groups, and then solution, the chaos ensues. And then the solution is this sweeping new bills and infrastructure to ensure everyone's safe.
I agree. They tear down the institutions, they cause chaos, and then they provide the solution. But we have to move on to the third topic.
Third topic. It's cruising through today, man. Seizure of a Russian tanker. So, I mean, this isn't just relative to, I believe the French government seized a Russian tanker. This has been going back and forth for a while with seizing various assets. It's just the continuation of this war. Putin is in a very tough spot. His people now, regular Russian people, all the people under him are desperate for them to strike back, to really strike back. And I think they're just poking the bear. They got the bear in the corner and they're poking him. And it's not gonna go good. And once that happens, once Russia hypothetically strikes Europe proper, if they hit Berlin or Paris or something, and they could very easily, that's when you'll see if America's still with Europe. And if America lets that happen and they have a war, then we'll know for sure. Okay, hey man, Trump isn't in on this. There is some kind of real division going here. There is a reassembling of things. But for me, until I see something like that, I think Trump is they're making it seem like there's all this conflict, but at the end of the day, I think they're just implementing an agenda.
So for people who don't know what's going on, the West has been running this sort of propaganda campaign. They refer to something called the Russian Shadow Fleet, or the Russian Ghost Fleet. These are like Russian tankers that are insured by Russia, not by England or by America. And sometimes they do turn off their transponder or they change their flags. They're trying to circumvent this this embargo that's been placed, these sanctions. And I looked into it. I'm like, how can you sanction ships on the open seas? Well, you can do it when you're America and the EU. So they come up with the rules, and then they say they're violating the rules. And I did a quick Google search, and it's funny. They're saying, it's a threat that they are funded by Russian insurance. They're not up to the same regulations. Sometimes they're older ships. They might break down and close the straits. And it sounds like the Green Party trying to argue why they should have a right to come on your property and inspect your, trees.
They're weaponizing their situation. They're weaponizing everything. They weaponized the currency initially. The whole reason we got BRICS is because America started leveraging the global currency, the reserve currency, and seizing assets in that way. And it's gross to see because, like, I mean, what we're watching, the way people frame it is Russia is some kind of existential threat and they want to run the world and stuff. And I just don't see it that way. What I see, what I've been watching when I look at all of 20th century's history, it's this banking oligarchy that controls the West. Every country that's not in line and utilizing their banking services are the enemy, and they're an existential threat. They're the boogeyman. Every country that doesn't have a central Rothschild-controlled central bank, and that's what I think we're seeing now. I think they're pushing Russia and China to war, and that's what they want ultimately. And I mean, these people are very anti-human and Malthusian. They don't care if they kill a billion people. That would be just icing on the cake for them. We're just useless eaters, right? Like the level of evil that we're dealing with here, it's hard for normal people to rationalize because we want to give people the benefit of the doubt, or you want to attribute values that you have to them, but I don't think they have it. I think it's just a consolidation of control. They want a true one world government now. And that's what they're going for.
It's an accurate description of what's going on. So you have the Western banking system that wanted to carve up Russia. It didn't work. So then they tried to backdoor that through Ukraine, and they precipitated the events that led to this special military operation. Then they turn around and they say, we need to impose these sanctions to strangle Russia so that they can't continue this war in Ukraine. Yeah, but you started the war. You're the one that was expanding the borders of NATO closer and closer to Russia, even though you promised you wouldn't do that.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing of all this, and everyone just forgot that. All of these countries, they just kept encroaching closer and closer to the territory, and that was the big deal. That was like the big deal they made to make peace. And I feel Russia was well within its rights to push back a little bit. I think that Putin has been the adult in the room this whole time. I think he's been exercising restraint at his own detriment because I know that inside Russia, people aren't pleased with Putin. They're wondering now if he's in on it, if he's letting them get fall under this the influence of this banking empire because he's not striking back. He's not. If anything, he's still using restraint. And that can't last forever. It really can. And it's like they're intentionally endeavoring to provoke him further by seizing these assets.
Yeah, it's a tough situation because the Ukrainians, they're being used as cannon fodder. This is a proxy war. The West is happy to kill 1, 2, 10 million Ukrainian men. They don't care. So we want to make sure we don't fall into the trap where we say, Russia should just go in and flatten Kiev, which is the Russian sentiment, and I get that, and I some part of me sort of is somewhat aligned with that. On the other hand, Putin has to establish deterrence somehow. I mean, I'm not saying nuke London and Paris, but next time French commandos board a shadow fleet, you got to do something. I mean, this is going to lead to some confrontation because either they have to use their subs to take out a French naval vessel, or you gotta get into a shootout with the Russian soldiers. Something.
Yeah, and like all wars are bankers' wars, and he's between a rock and a hard place right now because he knows, like, if anyone knows how this all works, Putin certainly does, and I think he's the rock and the hard place because if he actually strikes back into Europe proper, or even if he just decimates Ukraine, if he goes in with a major bombing campaign and flattens all of their infrastructure, that's going to drag other powers into the war against him. And he knows they certainly don't want that. I get the impression that Putin didn't want any of this. Putin wanted to be let into the fold and have commerce with the Western democracies. He's been trying since the Clinton administration. But again, he's vilified. He's the bad guy. And if you say that, you're being paid by Russia. Like, that's the era we're in now.
It's he is between a rock and a hard place, and it's not just getting other powers in, it's the public perception. You got these ruling elites in Europe, complete psychopaths. They're pushing the country towards war. They're itching for some sort of false flag where they can say, "See, we told you the Russians are all barbarians. Now let's mobilize the country for war and give us carte blanche to just go in and flatten Russia."
Yeah, I agree with that entirely. That's what they're looking for. That seminal moment. And Putin's aware of this game. And his people might not be aware of it to the extent that he is. And he's trying everything to avoid this. And that's just how I'm seeing it. Could I be wrong? Of course I could. But that's the impression I get. And the information we get regarding people that are enemies of this banking oligarchy, let's just look at Gaddafi, for instance. He's a perfect example. Like, look at what he did for his people. Look at what he was trying to accomplish with the economics, like making an African dollar backed by gold. And look at like all of the systems he had in place to help people, the education. Like what the banking oligarchy is afraid of is a country having success without it. Like if you can make a prosperous, healthy, happy society without that banking oligarchy, then other countries might realize, hey, why are we paying all of this debt to a private international banking oligarchy when we could just, do it ourselves? That's what they don't want people to realize.
I was in a space last night, and they were talking about Carrie Lynn Findley and how she's the real deal, and she's gonna fix it all. That's something that people can get behind. It's something that they can understand. It's very easy for them to interpret that. But when you start talking about monetary policy and the banking system, they just tune out. And it's really tragic because as you pointed out, like that's the root cause of all of our problems: feminism, transgenderism, racism, mass immigration, which leads to racism.
Yeah, that's who's pushing it. And they do it through their NGOs, not just their influence politically. They do it through these massive organizations. Now we have actual global bodies like the UN and the WHO. But before that, we've just had these massive nonprofits like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation or George Soros Open Society. Back in the day, like 100 years ago, we had them too, the Rhodes Foundation, the Milner Group. It's the same thing, man. That's how they do it. And it's just about maintaining the hegemon. They don't want to lose power. And I believe that the wars from the 20th century, World War I and World War II, were precipitated by this same oligarchy. Obviously not the same players within it, but their children now. Whoever's still in control of these institutions are just trying to continue the grift. And humanity is at a point now where a lot of us can see past it. A lot of us, though, the majority of people, they do. You're right, Peyman. When they hear that, they just glaze over. They can understand politics. They can understand the kayfabe of that, and they're going to support their guy. But there's millions of us that are seeing past it now. And I don't think all the algorithmic suppression in the world is going to stop the truth from getting out. There's just too many people aware of this. Speaking of algorithmic suppression, we are heavily suppressed. So I will take a moment now to appeal to the audience. We have a very low group watching today, but if you guys could please share this, it's very advantageous for us.
I would before going live, I just went to ChatGPT asking it, how is the Federal Reserve run, and who owns it. Got nowhere. So I went to Google. I'm like, how the hell does the Federal Reserve print money? And it gave me like 5 websites. I go to them, completely incomprehensible. Like, might as well be written in like Sanskrit or cuneiform. So Mark Carney is part of that same crew. And people say he's such a good speaker. He's a horrible speaker. Go watch him. Count how many words he says and how many times he says in the middle of those words. It's like every 10th word is But what he does is he talks in circular logic. It's just circular speak that makes no sense, and people feel dumb, and they're like, oh, this guy must be smart.
That's exactly what it is, bro. It sounds so silly. It can't be that. Of course it is. Of course it is, man. And the language, like, yeah, well, we're going to catalyze investment. We're going to build big. So he sloganeers like Pierre does, but then he throws some banker terminology in there, and everyone's just like, whoa. It's it's like the language impresses them so much. There's something they used to say about the Yankees. Why do the Yankees always win? It's because the other team is mesmerized by the pinstripes. And I mean, with some of this language, with some of the way he articulates these fancy words, I mean, they don't mean nothing usually. Like, they really don't. Like, there's simple words they could utilize instead, but they do it because the intention is to confuse you. The intention is to make you feel like, oh, hey, I really don't know about this. So you can't have any questions. Like, they want us to be illiterate, like through school, regarding economics and philosophy. Those are the 2 biggest things that are left out of the curricula. Modern curricula is philosophy. They want us philosophically illiterate and economically illiterate. Because if we weren't, we'd see past this right away.
Yeah, you could make the argument that economics is downstream of monetary policy, and nobody talks about monetary policy, but everybody talks about economics. I had to prepare for the show, so I was watching Northern Perspective. It was pretty brutal, and a couple of the other like topical Canadian news networks, and they're like, Canada is in recession. We're in recession because of Carney. So people talk about the economic component, but they just use it as a tactic to attack their opponent. I'm sure on the other side, they're sort of doing the same thing. Within this category, Canada is the fastest growing economy of the G7.
That's naive perspectives, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
The husband and the wife team. Yeah. It's the extent of their commentary. It's the dumb libs. We just got to get those dumb libs out. It's Carney, it's Trudeau, it's the dumb libs. We got to get our Pierre in there. Come on, man. Do you guys really believe that at this point? Like, Pierre ate an apple and asked a clarifying question to an arrogant reporter 2 years ago, and we're all still celebrating him? What has he done? Has he actually questioned anything regarding our last election, which was very fishy? I mean, his district, his personal district, it was redistricted, and he ended up losing his own seat. And he was up 20 points to win the election, and then he's jettisoned into Alberta. And what's he saying now in Alberta? He's representing a rural Albertan constituency, and he's saying, "Yeah, I'm against separating. So, I mean, that's why he's there, man. This is a show we're watching. And like, people must be hungry for something more than it's the dumb libs at this point. And that's the extent you get from most of these people.
I don't think Canadians, they don't understand how bad the last 2 weeks have been. So they torpedoed the only opportunity that Canada, the real opportunity Canada had to actually get out of this mess, which was the Alberta independence movement. They torpedoed it, and then they replaced it with an establishment politician, with Carrie Lynn Findlay. And it seems like if you're right and the Conservatives are going to win, they're going to do the same thing federally with Pierre Poilievre. And it's going to be business as usual. And the people are cheering this on. You should have seen that space last night. They're like, yeah, Carrie Lynn Findlay, everything's going to change, Pierre Poilievre. And one guy was like me, he was screaming. He's like, you're all idiots. You're all morons. I'm sick and tired of you. Nothing will change. And I was like, this guy's my spirit animal.
And then everyone doesn't like that guy, right? Yeah, you're a black pill. Black pill. No, dude, I'm willing to see the truth that you guys are intentionally not seeing. Because a lot of people get the sense that it's bigger than that, but they want a hero. This is all written to read Tragedy and Hope. I know I reference this work a lot because it's a true glimpse behind the lines of power, like behind the curtain. And it shows you, like, they have all this set up. The two-party system was intended to be so when we're really sick of what they're doing, we can kick them out and put in the new people, right? And that's the level most people see it at. There's also famous sayings like, when the people require a hero, we shall provide him with one. That's Trump. Trump was the hero. Everyone was done with it, man. They were done. People were seeing past it. In America, especially, you had Occupy Wall Street coinciding with the Tea Party movement. The left-right people were starting to realize, oh, it's the banks. It's not each other. It's the banks. It's monetary policy. They were really getting that. So what do we see then? We see woke. You know what I mean? Like, they're ahead of this game. But I don't know, man. I wish that we could elect a representative that's honest. And I'm not saying Carrie Lynn Findlay, she could have integrity. She could really want to make a difference and believe everything she's saying. I'll grant that. But she won't be able to. Even if she gets in power, she won't be able to. They will not let her. There's powerful forces that make these decisions. And I don't know. If you can't see this now, it's like I said, man, you're being either willfully ignorant or you're horrendously naive.
The only way that a political change can happen is if the society, citizens mobilize outside of every single institution. Like, forget social media. You can't use legacy media. You can't use mainstream media. You can't use the CBC. You can't rely on the court system. So what you have to do is you basically have to recreate town halls, community to community, and then you have to create some sort of bulletin board system using, I don't know, TCP/IP or carrier pigeons or something. And you have to talk directly to the candidate and say, these are the things that we want. And then you have to regroup every morning. All right, the local media has come out and called you, attacked you savagely. How do we counter it? Now, how do we get from here, where people are masturbating on Pornhub and, I don't know, Netflix, to there where like a third of their free time is going? I don't know how we do that.
Yeah, they have to realize the gravity of the situation. It's like, I've used this analogy before, but a lot of Canadians, it's almost like they're going through their morning routine, they're brushing their teeth, they're making their coffee while their house is on fire. That's how urgent and dire our present situation is. We're in a managed decline. The fact that they use this term too, technical recession, that's so ludicrous. All that means is that our media is Pravda. It's like, there's a recession or there's not a recession. What is this? Oh, it's a recession? Okay, well, it's a recession. To use that qualifying adjective like, oh, it's a technical recession. It's because Carney's investing a lot and this is all going to pay off in the future. It's all so ludicrous, man. I'm like that guy in the space you were referencing. I'm ready to just like, are you guys all fucking stupid or what? That's where I'm at. Like, are you that gullible? Like, it's tragically susceptible to these narratives.
Yeah, it was actually a breath of fresh air to listen to him. And it was funny because he was making like the most racist comments. And I DM'd my friend. I'm like, I don't care how racist this guy is. I really agree with almost everything he's saying.
Well, and this is the other trap, Payman, and this is what I mean, man. They're so ahead of it, and they have so many contingency plans. You and I have been talking about this a lot. The racialism, the identitarianism is being just fomented to a point where it's ready to explode. I've been watching it gradually. People will say the most just classless, racial, derogatory slurs online and get 5,000 likes. And that emboldens them and it lets other people know, okay, well, we're here now. So if they don't get us in the political tribalism, they will definitely get us in the racial tribalism. And that's why they influxed so many migrants into our countries. They're going for the gusto, man. And if you see past politics, a lot of people get to that spot. Well, it's race. And it's the white people versus all the immigrants. It's like, oh my God, man. It's the ants in the jar. And the jar is being shaken. And we're gonna kill each other now. Like it's just crazy, man. And again, we fall for it every time. We really do. Like people can't see the people who facilitated it. It's not like look, man, my hometown has been erased. I go back to my hometown and it's all Indians. The businesses in the homes. I don't like that. But I'm not stupid enough or angry enough to not logically conclude that it's not their fault. They've been victimized by this whole system or utilized by this system as much as I am being. If anything, they're our ally in this. We should try to organize them as well. Because the alternative is tribalization. Right now, look, guys, if you wanted a white Canada, you should have started in 1970. Then maybe you could have kept the demographics similar, but we're there now. Look at every single urban area. What you're going to accomplish with white identitarianism is civil war. And you don't want that. You really don't. Maybe you do, but if you do, that's indicative of a sick character for sure.
I wonder how Preston Manning did this because I was talking to a friend of mine about his movement with the Reform Party, and he said like he did just an obscene amount of town halls in 1 year. So it was more than 365. And if you want to pursue white, I don't know, ethno-nationalism, like, okay, at least organize, like create chapters, organize and pressure your politicians. But it's so hard to do in Canada. Like people are they're squirrely. They don't want to commit. That was just a bad example. I'm not saying we should do that. But how do we organize the people is my question.
It's by the Preston Manning approach. It's perspiration. It's like getting out there, door knocking, getting out there, like postering your city. Social media it's blocked now. Yeah. If you're not fomenting racial division or fomenting the left-right division, you're not getting your message through. So, you set up a space online or something and you have a QR code and you go out and you poster your cities with these QR codes. At least then it would be more specifically and targeted. You would get people from your city that potentially are aligned with your values. But it's just a start, man, to not be demoralized, to not look up at this behemoth or this leviathan of control and think we can't do anything. You have to just try.
I'm guessing we have a low viewership today. So it just occurred to me, you're a janitor. You work in a building. Why don't you print some QR codes and go slap them on the urinal stalls and see if we can up our viewership?
I'd go through the city for it, man, and do it. We got a show. I wouldn't put that much effort in to get people to watch our show because, like you and I know, look, man, we both we're doing this for a couple years now. Our viewership was in the thousands. Our live viewership was in the thousands, and now it's in the 30s. Like, there's nothing organic about this. They're very much suppressing this show and subsequent shows we have, like other shows that we do. There's targeted suppression going on. So I mean, it's a hard moment to continue to do this. Like I said, if I didn't find it cathartic, I would probably just give up and try something else at this point.
We got a question. It's not a question, it's a criticism. Morning, guys. Are you complaining again? Hey, it gets us through the day.
This is what the show is essentially. It's Peyman and I get together in the morning and complain about everyone and how stupid they are and how brilliant we are for seeing past it.
I couldn't find a rocking chair and a shotgun, but I got a swiveling chair and a put a bolt gun in the background.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. Like what we have to do, number one, and we get to this topic a lot, we have to educate people. We have to make people get out of the culture war, get out of the political culture war, look past that. What's going on in the world right now? Tom Luongo said something once, and he says everyone thinks in terms of nation states. And nation states, as we conceptualize them, don't exist anymore. There's an overarching power structure. There is an empire in the West, and we might have, the leader of a country, but it's like just with the Roman Empire, we might have someone in charge of a certain colony of Rome, but they still go back to the emperor. They still go back to the Senate. Like the power doesn't lie where we believe it lies, and that's the biggest problem that people can't wrap their heads around to see where the real enemy is.
Let me ask you a question. Like, there is a lot of algorithmic suppression, and because we're not leaning into hate, it's relative to the other guys, our viewership goes down. Do you think it could also be that there was just such a push to educate ourselves in the last 6 years since COVID, that the ones like us that saw the main problem, we just soaked up all the information, and either we're not interested in watching shows like this anymore, or we just got tired and we dropped out. And now everything is topical, like Northern Perspective. Carney does one thing and then they criticize it, and everybody flocks to their show and watches it.
No, I don't think that. And maybe you could say I'm in denial, I'm jealous or something, but no. I think anything that foments this divide, anyone who's playing red team, blue team is still in the game. Anyone who's looking to a political person as our savior is still in the game. But people who are analyzing it a little deeper are very deboosted. It's not organic. And the reason I believe that is because my show was like this the whole time. When I started podcasting, I was trying to tell people that it's controlled opposition, and I was getting thousands of views. A lot of people hated me. A lot of people still hate me. But no, I think it's totally relative to our algorithmic suppression. I started this account, man, and I had a lot of success. I was going up like this in my analytics when I look at my annual analytics. And then last March, it dropped off a cliff and flatlined. And now it's like an EKG. I get a little blip here and there. But I mean, it's not organic. This didn't happen. When you look at PST, the Philosopher, the Stoic, and the Teddy Bear, which is tonight, actually at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Eastern, we had 3,000 live viewers at our peak. 3,000 live viewers. We were averaging between 1,500 and 2,000 live viewers. And our shows after the fact were getting up to 10,000 views. Then all of a sudden, literally after our 10th episode on number 11, we're down to the hundreds, a couple of hundred. Now, I think the algorithm identifies, or people within these platforms identify who's saying forbidden topics, who's talking about forbidden things that we don't want people talking about. And I think they're targeted for suppression.
Perhaps the algorithm is changing the way people think. So under the trucker convoy, before this algorithm took off, there was unity. Like, we were all singularly focused on the state. The state was the one who was crushing us. And then a whole bunch of things happened. But if you remember the ostrich farm, I noticed the schism started to form, where you had some people that were for it for reasons and some people that were against it for various reasons. Now, when I go into a space and they're talking about how, Muslims are all evil and we should, put them on a trebuchet and get them out of the country. And if I tell them you're focusing on the wrong issue, it's the people in power and the power behind them, that nobody wants to hear that anymore. Like a year ago they would, but not anymore.
Sure. These people certainly don't. The people that have made their minds up. It's like I said, man, I realized early on when I was starting to look into these things, like, once you see one part of it, you don't fixate on that and stop looking. You don't think to yourself, oh, I got it figured out, man. It's the Muslims. But a lot of people are like that. They get stuck on this one issue and then they can't see past it. They don't look or think more broadly into it. It's just they get on there and they spew vitriol and hatred. Then there's the people, it's like I say, there's the the Chinese boogeyman. There's the Muslim boogeyman. There's all these things. They call it a communo-Islamic alliance that's trying to take down the West. No, it's not. It's the bankers. It's the bankers. It's always the bankers. It's the bankers. That's where we're at. And until we look at monetary policy and monetary reform, we will never solve this. We'll just keep fighting with each other.
Alice not woke. You guys are in the fifth dimension. Humanity isn't ready for it yet.
We're ahead of the curve, I think. I truly do. And I mean, it's not like we're benefiting for it. That's for sure. Like I know how this works. I realized the culture war grifters a while ago. Like if I wanted to make all these left-right videos, right versus left videos, and do Mario Zelaya and just play something that offends the right and just raise my eyebrows and look up at it and point, I would be making money doing this. Like, it's that easy. That's what's selling in the marketplace right now, and everyone kind of contorts themselves to fit this criteria, and they get on here and do it. I'm not willing to do that. I might be wrong. I could be wrong about everything, but I'm telling the truth. That much I promise you. I'll give you my word on it. I'm telling the truth as best as I can determine it, and I think we've got a lot bigger problems than right versus left, or white Canadians versus immigrants. I think like our countries are in a managed decline. And they're doing something to us. They're implementing an agenda so they can change our laws.
Not to toot my own horn, but if I had like one superpower, it would be that I can seek out and find Canadians that have done remarkable things. And most of the time, they push back against government, and they fought the government and they've lost. And those are the types of people I'd like to bring on, and I have conversations with them, and it's fascinating. Like, you get a guy that spent his whole life understanding, how Canada failed, and we have a 2-hour conversation. That's what I want more Canadians to do. Not this, like Bill C. so and so. It's they amended it and it's going to be worse. Yeah, I get that. Or Gladue or Carrie Lynn Findlay. Like, try to step away from that and look a little bit deeper under the surface.
Yeah, that's what we have to do. If I have a superpower, I would have to say it's humility. It's just being humble. It's knowing like, hey, what do I know at the end of the day? Maybe I'm wrong. And when new information arises that tells me that I was wrong, I have no problem saying, hey, guys, I was wrong about this. This is why I thought this way. This is what I learned. This is why I don't think that way anymore. And a lot of people don't have that. Their ego is one with their position. And when you attack their position, or when you try to tell them, hey, man, I don't think you're right, they take it personally, and their instinct is to jab at you. And it devolves into a shouting match or into an argument, not a debate or a true discourse. And that's what prevents people, man. We got to be really humble right now. This is complex beyond most people's comprehension. So you don't want to think you got it all figured out and get out there and argue with people. Listen to people. I mean, make your arguments, but argue in good faith. And if you're provided with information that proves yourself wrong, be open to the possibility that you're wrong. Like, that's, be humble.
Heather HHC, there is a reason it said follow the money. Yeah, I mean, money doesn't lie. I mean, if it's somebody else's money, like taxpayer money, you can throw it away. But typically, they throw it at ventures that further their interests.
Sure. You follow the money back to the root of where the money comes from, and where do you get? You get to the banks, to the big banks, to the big private central banking institutions that create wealth out of thin air and loan it to our countries at an interest. So for me to then speculate that they might have some influence in forming our policies and our political leaders, I mean, I don't think that's a stretch. I mean, they obviously could have that influence, considering they have the ring of power. That's the ring of power, to create money out of thin air and loan it to our countries. Like, it's a big problem.
There's two big words, monetary policy and fiscal policy. Monetary policy is like, how much money are we going to print and what's the interest rate? Fiscal policy is, once we've printed that money, what are we going to spend it on for the people? I think both those two have been hijacked. Let's just focus on BlackRock. I mean, BlackRock owns the banks, has stocks in the banks that make the Federal Reserve, so they print the money, and BlackRock controls how they're either through shares in public corporations or through like bailouts, managing the bailouts. They control how that money is spent, and they just lock the whole system down. Like, how is that? How is that anything resembling a democracy or a republic?
It's not. It's definitely not. It's not even resembling capitalism. It's more resembling neo-feudalism. Just think about it, man. Every Western nation is like $1 trillion plus in debt. In debt to who? The Iron Bank. Like in Game of Thrones, it was the Iron Bank, and they had an army. And our Iron Bank, in reality, has an army too. It's called the intelligence agencies. The intelligence agencies don't work for the countries. That's why they do so much stuff against their own countries. They work for the big banks. That's their army.
It's a really good racket to be in. If this was drugs, right? Like, if I gave you a kilo of some narcotic and I say you got to sell it, pay me back tomorrow, you always pay me back in dollars, right? Like $1 million, and you yourself make $1.5 million. But imagine if I say I'm going to give you a kilo and I need you tomorrow to pay me back in 1.5 kilos. Like that, and then tomorrow I give you, like 2 kilos, and you got to pay me back 3 kilos. That's what this banking system is. Like, there is no escape from it.
Yes, and there's no sovereignty that can be attained. There's no liberty that can be attained at a national level when we're still subservient to international finance. Until we sever those ties and create wealth at a national level and get rid of the usurious interest rates, we will never have true sovereignty as a country.
Last comment from Gary. I'm here to free the roosters. All roosters. Rooster lives matter.
All cocks matter.
All cocks matter. There's a station in London. I always giggle when you're on the subway. They're like, next stop, Cockfosters. Like, who the hell would name a station Cockfosters?
So I'm from Cape Breton, and in Cape Breton we have a town called Coxseath, and right next to it there's Balls Creek. I'm dead serious. Coxseath and Balls Creek.
On the highway, the exit, does it say cock and balls?
It should. Oh. It certainly should. But that's about the extent of it. We didn't get a lot of questions today. Unfortunately, now that we're at the end, we've got a nice audience. We've got 85, which again, it's probably 5% of what we would get before the suppression. But for us now, that's pretty decent. But do you have any parting words, Peyman?
Yeah, hang in there. Hopefully things will get better.
I like it. So with that said, guys, we will see you tonight. We're doing The Philosopher, the Stoic, and the Teddy Bear. That's live to X and YouTube, Substack, and that's at 7 p.m. Eastern. Chris Erickson will be joining us for that. And Peyman and I will be back tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you next time. Cheers.